Hello everyone, welcome back, and today in this video I just wanted to talk more about Barcelona's transfer window with the season coming up, and I basically wanted to ask the question, what can Barcelona's board do for the rest of this transfer window to please Barcelona fans? Are there any signings that they can realistically make, or are they going into the season with just Dani Olmo as the one signing in the summer when they went into the transfer window saying they needed to sign a left winger and a defensive midfielder? And they ended up with an attacking midfielder in Dani Olmo. And nothing personally to Dani Olmo, but I just think a lot of Barca fans feel that there were some gaps in the squad. And there are even more gaps than just the left winger and the defensive midfielder that I wanted to talk about today. So yeah, I know a lot of Barca fans, maybe they're feeling pretty negative, especially after that 3-0 loss to Monaco and the Joan Gamper trophy. But the season starts on Saturday. I'm still really excited for that. So I just wanted to talk about all of that today. And the first thing that I wanted to talk about was, of course, the left wing position, because we're hearing names like Luis Diaz and Kingsley Coman because Nico Williams, he took the number 10 at Athletic Bilbao. He is staying there this summer. And Barca, of course, they could have definitely prepared for this a lot better. Maybe they knew Nico Williams' answer for a month or so now, and they're just maybe trying to save face with the signing of Dani Olmo. I really think they could have just prepared better. If they had known Nico Williams' answer, they should have been looking for alternatives, because you knew it was a position going into the summer that you needed to sign, and now it just looks like you're ending up with Dani Olmo, which personally, like I said, I'm excited for him. But if you're going to play him in that left wing position, I think that's away from his best position, which I think he can still do the job there. And then Ansu Fati, I hope he's able to play a decent amount of games this season, but I think that's depending a lot on Ansu Fati and a player whose best position is a left winger. So it's interesting. I think the other names that we're hearing, Luis Diaz, I don't feel like he's going to leave Liverpool. It does seem like Deco is really interested in him, but I just don't know if he's going to leave Liverpool this summer. And if he does, I don't think Barcelona would be able to afford it. I think it would be at least 60 million plus, and I just don't know if that realistically is the right idea for Luis Diaz. I'll be honest, I don't watch Liverpool that much. I've seen moments of brilliance from him, of course, but I just don't know if 60 million for Luis Diaz is the right idea. And then Kingsley Coman as well, I think on a loan, that would definitely not be a bad idea to bring him in just as another option, but he's also very injury prone, so you have Kingsley Coman and Ansu Fati, and I think there will definitely be some overlaps in the time that they're out on the bench injured, unfortunately for them, because I think they're both great players, and what they can do when they're healthy, it'd be very interesting to see, and I hope Barca would be able to see that a little bit at least. But yeah, Kingsley Coman, I think it wouldn't be a bad option, and it's probably the most realistic at this point, because it would be on a loan. It did seem like he was potentially going to leave Bayern this summer, and if he does, Barcelona, it wouldn't be a bad idea to look into that and see if Barca could make it happen, if they would be able to register him, and if his salary demands wouldn't be too high. But other than that, it's frustrating, because I think you knew this entire season you needed a left winger, and I just think maybe they went all in on Nico Williams. Just feel like they should have known his answer a long time ago. And there was also some reports that Barca, they just haven't been able to basically confirm with him that they would be able to register him for La Liga, and so he doesn't really want to go into the unknown and say he wants to leave Bilbao, and then you go to Barcelona, they can't register you until they sell players. I don't think he really wants to get into that mess in the first place. So that's I think where it's difficult in that left wing position. But are you all comfortable going into a season with Ansu Fati and Dani Olmo in that position? I don't know. Like I said, the season's very long. I think for the first month, maybe in the first couple games, Dani Olmo, I think he can do the job there. But you would like him to play as an attacking midfielder, and then a true direct left winger that can go 1v1, that can take players on, that can create something with the ball at their feet. And I just don't know if that's going to work out. But yeah, I basically want to talk about the left wing position today. And then I want to move into other positions as well and also talk about some departures. And it was very interesting because yesterday we saw some Rafinha exit rumors, which I think is very interesting. I think it would make the team worse. I'll be honest, when I heard Saudi Arabia was calling with a 100 million offer, it turned my eye. I will be completely honest. I think Rafinha, he's a hardworking player. He's someone that tries his hardest every single time he's on the pitch, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes he does have bad performances. He's not able to make the right pass, and he's turning the ball over pretty easily. But I still think he's trying his hardest, and he was very decisive in the first 2 seasons for Barca. And I just don't think it'd be the right idea to sell him, because then if you sell him, who are your right wingers? It's Lamine Yamal, a 17-year-old. You don't want to overplay him, and then he gets injured, and then people like Pedro. I mean, that's an example of what not to do. You just do not want that to happen. So I think it's good to have healthy competition there. Rafinha has also shown he can play on the left. Don't think it's ideal, to be completely honest, but I still think he can play. So I don't want Barcelona to sell him, especially for an offer of around 60 million is what I saw, and it seemed like there were some reports saying that Barcelona might need to accept that offer, just given their financial situation. Absolutely hope that's not the case, and I do hope Rafinha stays this summer. But then other players, for me, like Ter Stegen and Lewandowski, in my opinion, if I was playing FIFA career mode, and basically anything could happen. Ideally, both of those players, in my opinion, would leave the club this summer, but I don't think that's realistic. I think Lewandowski, absolutely he's staying. He's getting 35 million a year because Laporta said, "Yeah, I'll pay a 36-year-old 35 million a year." I can't blame Lewandowski for not leaving. And then Ter Stegen as well. I just think it's time for Barca to maybe look for an upgrade in that position. And we're looking at this Liverpool situation. They have Alisson, which is one of the best, if not the best, keepers in the world, and they're already trying to plan for his departure in advance by signing Valencian goalkeeper Mamarshvili, who was so good at the Euros with Georgia. And for 30 million, that looks like such a good signing. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't watch Valencia that much other than when they come up against Barcelona, but I think he had a breakout season for Valencia. I think he was very good for them. And we were already hearing stuff about some Barca fans were saying, yeah, we should sign him next summer. And then he had that brilliant Euro campaign with Georgia. I mean, that was incredible. Individually, that's one of the best 4 games that I've seen from a goalkeeper in a very long time. He was just so dominant in his box and making crazy saves to keep his team in the game. We just don't see that with Ter Stegen, unfortunately. And I posted a video about Ter Stegen basically saying that Barca could definitely upgrade him or upgrade someone else to replace him in that position. And someone said they unfollowed me, which, I mean, that's okay, that's fine. But I just didn't know people really defended Ter Stegen like that. I've said for a while that Ter Stegen, I think it was 2 seasons ago, he was the best goalkeeper in the league. He was great in La Liga. But I just think you need players in big moments that come up huge with big saves. And I just have not seen that with Ter Stegen in a very long time. I feel like in the Clásicos, I mean, that shot that he let in from Bellingham, it's just his style is unique. And it's hit or miss, but I think a lot of times it's missing now. A lot of people have been talking about basically it's just like a hockey save where he just falls to the ground so easily. Sometimes it works out, but I just feel like the players, they just take advantage of this unique style, and they just put the ball where he doesn't save it. He doesn't even look like he's trying. And no, sorry, I don't want to say that, but it just looks like it's a position where he definitely could be saving the ball, but he's just not able to even get close to it. So I've always said that Ter Stegen, and I don't want to say always, but in the last couple of seasons, I've said that's definitely a position that Barcelona could look to upgrade on, but it's not going to happen this summer. We're going to see Ter Stegen play, 40, 50, 60 games this season. He is currently Barca's best goalkeeper, so there are no surprises there. And then Lewandowski, of course, up top, he's unfortunately going to be starting a lot of games, and I think we're just going to have to get used to seeing those two in the starting lineup. But those are definitely positions that I definitely think Barca could look to improve on. But that's just me being unrealistic because both of those players are not leaving in the summer. They're going to be starting in the majority of Barcelona games. But I hope both of them have great seasons. I hope both of them surprise me. It's difficult because I think a lot of other clubs in the world, they would have probably looked to replace them or maybe just not given Lewandowski that big of a contract. But yeah, that looks like Barca are going into the season with those two. And Rafinha, I hope they do not sell him. I think out of all the players at Barcelona, I think he's one of the players that's proven his spot. Like he proves that he deserves to stay, in my opinion. And yeah, Vitor Roque, I'm seeing some Everton links. Man, what an awful signing. What an awful situation Barca put themselves in by signing Vitor Roque, not giving him a true opportunity. Now it looks like he's off to Everton. And we don't really know what's going to happen. He didn't play in that game against Monaco, which I saw a report that maybe he was sick for that game. I'm honestly very unsure about his future at the club. It's possible that he leaves permanently at some point in this transfer window, which I think would just be ridiculous for Barcelona. It'd be so terrible for Barca as the club and also for Vitor Roque and for his career. It'd be terrible, honestly. And yeah, also Frankie de Jong, there's some rumors about him leaving for 60 million. I don't know. I just don't see him leaving this summer as well. Hopefully he comes back because I think he's great. I think he's great when he's available. Sometimes maybe he doesn't step up in those big games, which you would really like him to. But I think he has a ton of talent. On the ball, he's great. He's one of the best in the world in his position when he's in good form. But I don't know. I just think sometimes, especially last season, he had 4 or 5 injuries that kept him out for large parts of the year. So individually wasn't the best season for him, but I hope he can get back to the best level. And I don't see him leaving this summer. I'd be very surprised if he does. He's built a house in Barcelona. I don't see him leaving anytime soon. So it is just frustrating because I feel like some of the players that maybe but should be set to leave, they're just not going to leave. They're staying there. And I mean, Linglet has impressed Hansi Flick, which is crazy. And there's some players that you want to get out of the club, but then other players that you just, like Rafinha, that I feel like has deserved his place in the team, and it looks likely that, Barca, they would listen to offers for him in the summer. I'm sure he's going to stay, but if Barca are listening to offers, I just think that's the wrong idea to take someone like Rafinha out of the club, because I think it's definitely it's not helping the team and their performance levels when you're taking someone like Rafinha out who's trying his hardest and giving 100% every single time he's on the pitch and to leave, and then you have other players that just aren't doing that and they're able to stay for as long as possible. In the midfield signings, Hansi Flick himself has said that Barca don't need a midfielder, so I would be surprised honestly if they sign one, because they went into the summer like the left wing position very similar to that, where they said they wanted to sign a midfielder. It seemed like it was probably going to be Mikel Merino from Real Sociedad for around 20 to 30 million. Now it seems like he's off to Arsenal. Barca also tried to sign Angelo Stiller at the beginning from Stuttgart. Then they raised the price to around 50 million. Barca said no on that. Zubamendi as well. I know a lot of clubs around the world, I mean Liverpool, Arsenal, Barca, they've all tried to sign him because he looks so promising. But he wants to stay at Sociedad, and I completely respect the Basque loyalty there. And he's not joining Barca either. So who's the midfield signing that they're going to bring in that they went into this transfer window thinking they were going to sign? It doesn't look like anyone. And it seems like Marc Casado and Marc Bernal are going to be the two midfielders that join. And I think both of them have a lot of promise. I think Casado off the ball is great. Sometimes maybe on the ball doesn't have that level that someone like Pedri, Frenkie de Jong, Gundogan would have. But of course, that's not expected. He just came from the B team. He's young. I think he can definitely improve in that area. And Marc Bernal, I think he looks very composed on the ball. That mistake that he made in the Monaco game, I also, like I said in my last video, I did want to blame Inigo Martinez. Not blame, but I wanted to talk about Inigo Martinez's pass to him because I think it set him up for failure there. But some people were talking about Marc Bernal and saying he made a couple mistakes. He's not ready for the first team. But when you're going to play a 17-year-old, you have to expect those mistakes. And you have to say, if you're going to play someone without really any experience at the top level, you have to be open to them messing up a couple times. And it just comes with experience and age. And he's not ready, I guess, for the first team to be starting every single game without making a couple mistakes. I still think he can come into the first team, especially in the first month when some players are out injured. I still think he's ready for that, in my opinion. But some Barca fans were talking about his performance and saying that he's not ready. But, you've got to be able to... I mean, Lamine Yamal, definitely there were some times where he would make the wrong pass. And that's completely fine because they're trying things, they're experimenting. I mean, they're playing a little bit risky, and that happens sometimes. So you got to take the good with the bad. And Marc Bernal, I do think he would be able to step up into the first team, but it might be asking a lot for a 17-year-old really to be the only defensive midfielder in the team. We don't know if that's going to work out, but it really does not seem like Barca are going to sign another midfielder. So really, you go into this in this summer trying to sign a left winger and a defensive midfielder, and you end up with an attacking midfielder. I don't know. Like, even talking about it, it continues to make less and less sense. And I just thought the only way that the Dani Olmo signing makes sense is if you also sign a left winger. So I would understand the Dani Olmo signing if they ended up signing Nico Williams, but that's off the table. So you just put that money into a place where you really didn't need. And I just think Dani Olmo, maybe if he would have been able to join on a free transfer in a year or two, that would have been nicer than spending 60 million on a player that you just don't directly need in that position. Like I said, personally, I think Dani Olmo is going to be a great player. He's going to be a good addition, but just the squad planning from the board, it's very questionable, and I'm sure a lot of Barca fans, they're just not super confident in what they're doing right now. But moving past all those negative feelings towards the board, I still think Barca's squad, going into next season, I think they can do some great things. I think Hansi Flick, he did show in the preseason, especially the first two games, that Barca, they can build a good team. And I think it was interesting, a lot of people say that he switched formations. Basically, it was more of a 4-3-3 instead of a 4-2-3-1. And then at the end of the game, it basically seemed like it was a 4-1-2-3, or maybe like a 4-3-3. Yeah, I guess with Marc Bernal being the lone pivot. Yeah, that was interesting. Maybe he was just trying something out before the season started. I liked the 4-2-3-1. I think it brought a lot of intensity. But I just think without that left winger, without someone like Nico Williams, Barca might struggle. I think maybe it's going to be a little bit too easy for the other back line, and they're just not going to have someone that's able to go 1v1 and beat players on the ball. I don't know. I will have to just wait and see on that. I hope Dani Olmo would be able to play, but then you think of a 4-2-3-1, Dani Olmo on the left, someone like Fermin Lopez in the middle, and Lamine Yamal on the right. I think it seems great, but then with Lewandowski up top, I mean, those are your four attackers basically, and Fermin Lopez off the ball, I think he can be great in and around the box. Same with Dani Olmo. Lamine Yamal is just so special in himself, but then do you really have a runner in those four with Lewandowski not really making the best movement, with trying to be the playmaker? Do you see my concern there? I just think it'll be difficult for, I think there are games where Barca would be able to dominate and do well, but I just think there are going to be some games when Barca, against top level opposition, where maybe it's going to be a little bit too easy for them because they don't have someone that's running in behind. And maybe that's where Rafinha comes in, because I think he's great making runs off the ball. But then at that left wing position, is he completely comfortable there? We'll just have to wait and see. But like I said, I'm still excited for the way that Barca started this preseason. I think the 3-0 loss to Monaco, I mean, it's rough because I think the scoreline looks terrible, and Barca, their performance wasn't great, but they easily could have, scored a couple goals in the first half, and it would have changed some things. I still don't think, it's the right time to make mistakes, though. It's preseason, so you can make those mistakes, and hopefully Hansi Flick can build on those going into Saturday. But for Barcelona's board, what can they do to salvage this transfer window before the season starts? I know they have maybe a couple weeks until the transfer window officially closes. So in that time, what are the signings that they can bring in that would please Barcelona fans? I would think maybe Kingsley Coman as an option for that left wing position. But then who else? They just sold Julian Araujo for $10 million to Bournemouth. I mean, it seemed like he was maybe going to be the second or even third choice right back. So it doesn't seem like he's going to be a huge miss, but maybe could have been a helpful player to have in the squad. But do they need to sign anyone else? I would say if you just signed Dani Olmo from this transfer window, knowing the gaps that you had to fill in the squad before the summer started, it's got to be maybe a 2 or a 3 out of 10 in terms of the score that I would give that transfer window to Barcelona's board. I don't know what you all think about that, but like I said, Dani Olmo, I'm very excited to see him play. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be exciting to watch him, but was he what Barca needed? No. So what else can they do to please Barca fans? I'm just going to leave that for the comments. Hopefully people can help me out with that. I would say maybe Kingsley Coman and then maybe another midfielder, but you're just going to have to look at the options and can you even register them? Can you afford to sign them after spending $60 million on Dani Olmo? And there were some reports that even just to register Dani Olmo, they're going to have to sell 1 or 2 players. So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm sure in the next couple of weeks we'll hear more about the players that maybe Barca wants to sign. I'm sure we're going to hear some bogus rumors too about players that Barca want to sign that it's just never going to work. They're not going to be able to financially afford it, and the player probably wouldn't leave the club. Stuff like that. Wouldn't be surprised if we see in the next couple weeks until the transfer window closes. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of Barca fans, maybe they don't feel super confident with the transfer window that the club had, as well as, the 3-0 loss that they just had last night. Not going to be the best, but I still think Barca, they're a great team. I think they have such a good squad. It's a young core. They're only going to get better, and I hope Hansi Flick, he's able to get the best out of the squad. So that's my best hope for this season coming up. And on Saturday, I think we'll see how Hansi Flick wants to line them up. And like I said, a lot of the important players were missing in that game against Monaco. So I think, you can learn from your mistakes. You can get your best players back, and I think Barca, they can have a very good season. But I hope maybe they can make 1 or 2 more moves in the transfer window. But then you wouldn't want to waste money on someone if they're not really in your plans long term, unless it's just a loan and they can be a placeholder until maybe you can sign a true top left winger next season. But as always, thank you very much for watching my video. I do appreciate it. I love talking about this stuff, and so if there's any video that you all would like to see, I would love to talk about it. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Visca Barca. See you all later. Peace.